What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Trick 10s. This episode gonna be a little different. There's a boat sitting here behind me. It's not my cup of tea. Riveted boat, it's a 1436, it's narrow, it's got carpet in it, it's got wood underneath that carpet. I did not build this boat. Don't do it to him, Matt, don't. I just have to keep it real though. You can keep it real, just be respectful, okay? You don't know, this might have been this guy's first boat build. Ain't no promises, I'm gonna do the best that I can though. Screw it. Anyways, this boat was built by Bass Brothers Fishing. They are an affiliate of Tiny Boat Nation, and I think that he's actually part of the Tin Can crew. I don't know. There's a couple of red flags as soon as I saw the boat, but I'm just installing some electronics in this build. That's all I'm doing. Not gonna pick this thing apart. We're putting in two graphs. He's got two Lowrance graphs. He's got the active target system that's going in here. He just picked up 4 new lithium batteries, and I'm putting on a new trolling motor. So I'm gonna turn this camera around, guys. Let's get right into it. All right, so check it out, guys. Here it is. This is the 1436. Man, this thing has a lot of rivets in it. Now, I did go back and check out Bass Brothers YouTube channel just because I wanted to get a little background on the build in this boat, know what I was getting myself into. And I watched the reveal video, which basically is him showing off the boat just like I am, behind the camera, showing you inside all the compartments and everything. And after that, it showed a link to the entire build series. There was like 13 episodes in this series. I think I watched number 4 or 5. I couldn't watch all of them, but I wanted to watch that one because it had all the framework that was in here, and it showed how he put everything together. And everything in here 100% came from Tiny Boat Nation, go figure. So the framing that's in here, I think it's a joke. It's 1 1/4 by 1 1/4 by 1/16 aluminum framing angle, and it's just thin, man. I mean, look at this thing flex. That's not gonna hold up. It's got 3 rivets in it. I mean, the deck's wood. I mean, that's okay. Doesn't look bad. Carpet job looks pretty good, but the framing, nah, it's not gonna work. That's not gonna hold up, not at all, unfortunately. And what do we got up in here? This is the 2 batteries he's got in here. He just picked these up, these Blue Herons. Locally, they're running a hell of a deal on these things. They're like $250 a piece, and these are the big 105 amp hour batteries, I think they are. What are these? Yep, 105 amp hour. Those are actually a stellar deal for that size battery. Anyways, he's got one of these offset angles in here. This seems like it's pretty heavy duty. This is not gonna hold up. It's not. You got a damn seat post based in the damn hatch, and then you're using this little thumb catch. You telling me that little piece of plastic, you put your seat in here, I mean, heaven forbid you got a lean-in seat on here, and you got it sitting this way, you lean that way, and all you're relying on is that little plastic clip. Now, somebody's gonna fall over. They're gonna end up taking one on the head over here, hitting the trolling motor mount or something, but I was shocked. I can't believe this is how this thing is installed. Look at this. Oh my God, rivets. Are you kidding me? Into the bow? This little thin piece of like 070 aluminum rivets. Wow. And this is probably about a 090 thickness. It's not gonna hold up, even with this little edge on here. It comes all the way back here. So it has an attachment point here, and then it spans like almost 2 feet, at least 20 inches up here, and it's attached with rivets. I'm worried about it holding up this little edge 12-volt trolling motor, and we're about to install this Motor Guide X3 over here, 24-volt trolling motor on here. I guarantee you, you deploy this thing and turn it to the side one time, it's gonna rip all these rivets right out of here. This thing's gonna flip over sideways. We've got to do something with this. I told him that I really don't even want to use this bracket because it's kind of thin compared to what I would recommend, and it really needs to be welded up here onto the side, or else it's not gonna hold up. It's just not. The same way I did the Yin 10, that's like something like this needs. It's gotta be attached better than this. I mean, this is a chinky little Tiny Boat Nation bracket. It's adjustable, which is pretty cool. You can bring it up and down here, but this is the first time that I've seen one of these in real life, and I'm not impressed. And the damn rivets, they don't stand a chance. This needs to be through bolted. It needs to have like a backer on here, at least another piece of wood. You got all this wood in here, just put a piece of wood underneath there, have a backer for it, because it's not gonna last. Let's get into the back now. What I'm gonna be doing is installing the graph up here over top on this recessed foot pedal tray. Now his dad got one of my custom brackets over there. All his stuff's in that big tote right there, but that is gonna go up on the front. It's my dual graph bridge. He's only gonna have 1 graph on that, and we're gonna put another graph right here on a swing arm. He's got a swing arm over there, that box too, And he's gonna have a 7-inch here, 9-inch up front. Then up inside of here, we're going to put probably his black box up in here, and we're gonna have the active target hooked up onto the new trolling motor after we fix the bracket. Back here, he wants me to install the transducer puck off the back of the boat. Now he wants me to weld a piece on here. This is a little bit thin, but I can weld it on there. Not a big deal. You're gonna have to redo some paint back here. But another thing I noticed immediately, this is a low 36 wide, and look how far up his bunk boards are. Now those bunk boards, no, it can't work like that. They have to protrude past the back of the boat at least 1/4 of an inch. The reason for that is because right now, the weight is right here. And it's just pushing on this, and it's gonna start to warp. You can already feel it a little bit. It's higher here than it is here. That's because when you're trailering it, that thing is just pushing right up into the bottom of the boat. It's just bouncing right up against that solid spot right there. And that bump needs to come out past there. That way the weight load is distributed into the corner where the bottom of the floor meets the transom. That's the strongest point, is in that corner right there. Or else it's gonna end up buckling inside of here, and it's gonna split this seam right here. I've repaired a lot of these lows, riveted boats, same exact thing happens to them. It's just inevitable. You gotta have those bunks sticking out. Same thing though, all this framing, man, there's thousands of rivets in here. I mean, it looks good on top, but this framing is not very strong, man. It's 1/16 of an inch thick. I mean, I'm like 210 pounds. I guarantee you that this thing cannot hold my weight. There's no way. He did put a live well in here. I saw that in that same video I watched. And I mean, it looks pretty good. I was pretty impressed with the way he made it. This is just like a Rubbermaid box that you get that you put your Christmas decorations in and you put up in your attic. That's all this is. And I don't know if this thing is meant to hold water and like be splashed around. He said it was 14 gallons in the video. This thing is tiny though. I don't see 14 gallons going inside of this live well. I do like this though. I'm not gonna lie, this is pretty cool. This is the way I do my stuff. I like to have a hatch next to the live well. This is literally set up exactly how I do it. It looks nice and neat. I mean, I'll give him that. He did a hell of a job on making it nice and neat. I like the stainless hose clamps he used. He's got a flow right system valve up in there. And I mean, it's not bad. The only thing is I don't think it's gonna hold up with the weight of people walking on it. I mean, I can flex this whole framing with my hand pretty dramatically. I mean, literally, you shouldn't be able to do that with the main frame of your deck. But check this out on the side. Now this, to me, is crazy. This row that goes all the way up. When I watched the video, and he just literally had like 10 rivets sticking out the side of the boat, and he's just coming by, shooting them in. It makes me cringe to see all those holes going in the side of the boat, all those rivets going in there. I mean, I don't know, man. It's just not how I do things. It's not how I would recommend you do things, because it's not a good idea. Not to mention the way that it's framed out with that angle in there, it must have taken forever. He had like hundreds of cuts in the thing to make that radius. And then it also makes the sides of the boat permanent. They can't flex anymore. When I do my boat decking and stuff, I don't tie into the hull. I tie into the support ribs that are coming up in there. And the reason for that is because it's a lot stronger that way, and it still allows the sides of the hull to flex a little bit. Now you're putting pressure into an area that's not meant to have pressure on it. This area is meant to flex. So it can cause some issues down the road. What's going to end up happening is these rivets are just going to rip out, or they're going to get cracked, or they're going to end up getting loose. The last thing I want to show you guys up inside of here is his switch panel. Now, when I saw this thing, immediately I was like, man, that looks like a Mike Lopez special right there. That is right up Tiny Boat Nation alley. I was like, somebody was watching some Tiny Boat Nation videos before they built this boat, and that was when he told me who built it. And I was like, holy cow. I mean, it looks clean though, and everything is hooked up pretty nice. He's got a lot of lights in here. You want to check out these lights? Look at this. A couple white lights down there. Got a little blue light over here. And then he's got some more of these Amazon lights up here on either side. Pretty bright. They're not very long. These are only like 4-foot strips though. Might as well just ran these all the way down the sides. a little blue light up here, and he's got his nav light on the front. So the carpet looks good. He's got a lot of time in this thing. I know he does. I mean, he had a 13 episode series on it. So, I mean, you got to think he's got at least a couple hundred hours into this project. I have no idea what the customer paid for it, but I know it couldn't have been enough to cover all the time that went into this thing. Anyways, guys, we got a lot to do. Let's get back to work. All right, guys, so the first half of this video was recorded yesterday. Now, this morning, I did have a chance to watch another video. I wanted to see how he put all of the electronics into that switch panel, because I'm hooking up all these electronics right here that you see on the deck of the boat. Unfortunately, that episode did not show all of the wiring that went into it. It just showed how he actually built this panel. But I do know how I'm going to take this thing off here. It's just got some screws in it. We're going to see what the wiring looks like behind there. And then I got to figure out how I'm going to tie all this stuff in. Now, the graphs and stuff are probably going to run directly into the actual battery. So I may not need to get up in there for that, but I am going to have to put that swing arm on that side right there. So I need to put some bolts through that top wood and make sure it's going to be strong enough to support the graph that's going in there. This same panel right here, you can buy it on Amazon for like 16 bucks. And this same panel is $40 on Tiny Boat Nation just because it has a TBN sticker on it. Normally I use the 12 gang fuse panels because I like to have more options, and I usually run a lot more electronics than he has into this build. And I buy those off of eBay. Now, everything on Amazon is cool because it can get next day shipped and you got Amazon Prime. But if you're like me and you want to save a little bit more money, you can order the stuff off of eBay. And if you order in bulk, you can get it even cheaper. I usually order the 12 gang fuse panels, and I'm getting them in orders of 10, and they're less than 20 bucks a piece for the 12 gang ones. But if you're trying to do a budget build, you might want to cut some of your costs by actually shopping around and getting a better price on all the stuff that goes into your boat. I got a lot to do on this build. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the trolling motor, and I'm going to get that bracket off of there. I'm going to make a real bracket for that. And then I'm going to start installing all these electronics. This shouldn't be too big of a deal. Let's get back to work. So we got the trolling motor uninstalled, and then I drilled out these 12 rivets that he had up here, and this thing is flimsy, man. He did not use any of the anti-seize on these bolts. I mean, look how small these little stainless steel bolts are. These things are really tiny. You got to use anti-seize on this stuff, guys. It's important because what happens is the stainless will seize up to the stainless nut, and that's what this one did right here. Now, I can't get that out. I'm gonna have to break it or cut it. And look, I started pulling this back just to try to bend it off there. And look what it did to that piece of aluminum. It's just bending up, man. This thing is so thin. This is not strong enough to hold a 24-volt trolling motor on here. I don't even think it would have lasted with that edge. I mean, it will hold the trolling motor up here to look pretty and install it, but once you start using it, it's gonna end up ripping this thing out of here and causing damage. So I'm gonna get my grinding wheel and just cut the head of this off of here, or try to just break it with some pliers. So I really don't want to burn up his carpet, but I am gonna have to make a bracket for this and weld it up here. So I got a little bit to do, guys. Let's get back to work. All right, so we took the top piece off of the side panel where the electrical pan's at. Now, I could have unscrewed these screws in here. There's 4 screws in it and taking that out, but you know how hard it would have been to reach inside of there and to try to take this cable right here, fish that back up to that side. Plus, I would have had all these wires pulled out right in front of me. Now, there's a lot of wires in here. I mean, surprisingly, they're pretty neat. I mean, it's not really that bad. It looks pretty good. Everything is heat shrinked, and everything as far as the connections and everything, I like it. He did a killer job on that. The thing that kills me is this, though. This is just what I can't understand this. Look at this. This is the only thing that's holding you up here on the side. I mean, this thing is just, it's flimsy, guys. I mean, that's how the whole thing is. It's cut on the top and the bottom. You basically just have your whole deck frame just Swiss cheesed. I mean, shouldn't be able to move your deck frame like that, you know, with my hand. So anyways, now that I got this opened up, what I am gonna do, I got a game plan. Now originally, he wanted me to put 2 of the batteries up in this front compartment right here, which is what we're gonna end up doing. I got them sitting up in there, and look how tight they are. And he wanted them pushed all the way over to the corner, but there's no way I could shove them any farther. They're about 3 inches off of the either side right now. So they're gonna sit like that. I also have his live target right here. This thing has a black box in it. I gotta put that in here somewhere. I was gonna throw it right here, but this is gonna be like one of his main storage compartments up here. So I don't really want it to be right there because everything's already sloped with this floor being sloped. It's just gonna bang into it. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it on this side of this hatch up in here so I can mount it right here. And it will be protected because there is a little bit of space there and he might have some storage in there, but it will see a lot less abuse being right there tucked away than it will being mounted right here on the face where it's just out in the open. So from there, I should be able to run my wires up around this side and come up underneath here. I looked up underneath this deck, and there's room, I think, where I can pass those wires through there, hopefully. And then these 2 batteries right here, these are just going to be the power that I'm going to run for his trolling motor. Now, I took this trolling motor mount off, and I was going to make one for it, but the way that he built this deck, it's so tall. I mean, I like to give him a little bit more space on the side right here because that allows me a little bit more space here too, like this mount, because I can barely fit my hand underneath here. And the way I'd normally make these, I have it come across here, down, and then bend again to the face of the floor. And then we come through here with some bolts to secure it. But if I do that, then my only access to get to the nuts that are going to go on the bolts that hold the trolling motor on is going to be up from this backside. And I can hardly fit my hand in here now, let alone my whole arm to reach all the way up to this point up here. So what I'm going to do is reuse this piece, but I'm going to modify it. I am going to add a piece onto the side. I'm going to push it all the way over here, flush to the corner. That way the trolling motor's farther over, give them a little bit more deck space. I'm going to make a piece that's basically just going to mount onto this piece. It's going to turn up and then out. It's going to be a 1/2 inch up and 5/8 of an inch over. That's going to put me right in the center of the pipe right here on the gunnel cap. And then when it comes over and down here, then I'll just weld it down here onto this piece. So it will make this thing a whole lot stronger. I'm going to use a piece of 0.125 for that for sure. And then it'll just be welded. I can weld this whole thing solid across here. I'm going to come back and cut this off at the angle it is now. And I'm going to weld that solid across there too. So that will be pretty strong. Also going to come back and straighten this piece out, and then we'll throw a couple of bolts through there. That'll get the trolling motor taken care of. The only other thing I need to make metal-wise is going to be the pans for these batteries. Now these things are so tight, I'm not going to be able to have a 4-sided pan. It's going to be 3 sides, one here, one in the back, and then one up against the face of this. And how I'm going to attach that to this wall, I'm just going to shoot some rivets in there before we slide that battery in. I'm going to have to come up with some type of strap or something to hold it in there. I mean, it really can't jump up at all, but we got to put something on it. So I still got to figure that out. But I need 2 battery trays for this. And then I'm also going to make him another battery tray for another battery that he has. He didn't bring with him, but he says that this thing is a 36 volt and it's 10 inches by 6.5. So I'm going to make him a little tray that goes right here and attach it in through this. And it's basically just going to be sitting right here. So he can put his battery in there. And that is just for powering his electric trolling motor. He's got another electric trolling motor that goes on here, or electric outboard or something. I also have to put this NOCO battery charger in here too, because he's adding 2 more batteries, and the one that he has in here is only a 2-bank charger. What I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to put this one up in here, probably on, right next to his active target black box, and I'll be able to pull the wire for that back along this side. And this one, how it has a wire here too, I'm just going to take this apart and then I'll just splice these together so that he can have one power port that will control both of these NOCO chargers, because he's got one in here too. So that should work out pretty good. Now that I got a game plan on everything that I need to do, I'm going to go ahead and make all these metal pieces, and then I'm going to start welding this stuff on here and getting this thing wrapped up. Let's get back to work. So I got this trolling motor bracket altered. And I just got this thing tacked on here, do a couple tacks on the bottom, and I got a couple tacks on the top. I am going to come back and weld this solid, but you can see how this is going to work. I traced a line on here, so I got to come back and grind all this off because I'm going to weld this solid. This is going to slide right up in the corner, just like that. I will come back with some bolts in here, and then once this is all cleaned up, I can weld both of these seams across here and back across the face. And it works out really good that way because then I'll be able to get up in here, and with this extra bend on here, this place can be super strong being welded on this whole side right here. I did make my battery pans too. So I'm gonna get this thing cleaned up, weld this on, and then we're gonna start installing these battery pans in here and getting the rest of this stuff wrapped up. Let's get back to work. All right, guys, so it's a wrap for this project. We just took this Tiny Boat Nation boat and we pimped this thing out. This thing has some cool electronics in it, and now it's tricked out. Let's take a little walkthrough. I'll show you everything I did real quick. We got this transducer back here on the transducer puck. Runs up inside of here, down through there, up into the side, comes in there. I did make this pan right here. This is for his battery that's going to be powering just his electric outboard. So we pick up from the side, transducer cable. He's got some extra cable. I just put it right in here, zip tied it up against this. It's out of the way, works perfectly. That gets us up into the side panel. Now I did not actually have to hook up anything into these light switches or any of that stuff. And I couldn't hook anything into the fuse panel if I wanted to because it's full. But what I did was I ran my cable up in here and I put it on this swing arm. Now this is pretty cool. The way I did this, I drilled a hole in the side of it and I cut into it with a cutting wheel. And a lot of guys are gonna probably start doing this now because it hides your wires. And underneath of this, I put an 1.5-inch hole with a hole saw right through there. And that is clean looking. I mean, it's nice. Got a nice graph up here on the swing arm, get it out the way. And I still left him enough room up here on this side so he can lay his rods right up here on this side. Now, these compartments are just storage compartments. He does have his NOCO in here. That was already installed in the boat. That's 2 good sized storage compartments. This compartment right here is just for batteries. These got 2 big batteries in here. You can see down in there, that's the black box for his active target. And I put another charger right here, another double bank NOCO charger. That charges the batteries that are up inside of here. So I put a tray on both sides and I put the batteries up in there. Now, these batteries are tight getting in and out of there. I actually left him a 1/2-inch lip on the front. The sides are 1.5 inches, but that 1/2-inch lip will keep that battery in there good. I had to put a 1-inch spacer on here, not necessarily for this side, but on this side over here, he's got this big bus bar right here, and I needed to have the spacer to get off of this so you can get that battery in and out. So I figured if I was going to put it on that one, I might as well go ahead and put it on both sides. That gets us up here. We got his recessed foot pedal. Now what I did with this, I just went ahead and used the same plug. I cut it and spliced it for his new trolling motor. This is a 24-volt trolling motor. Those two batteries that I just showed you are powering just this trolling motor. But I went ahead and put another hole in here. Now this hole has a grommet in it, and this was basically just for the cables that are going up into this graph right here. He's got one for the power, and then he's got one for his active target. And then I ran the transducer cable down and through there also that runs into the black box. He's got his transducer for the live target mounted on the shaft of the trolling motor. I think it turned out sick, man. I made sure that he's got enough slack in here. The way it's twisted, it can turn both directions all the way around without binding up that cable. Now, normally the graph bridge would be mounted over here on top of the recessed foot pedal tray, but he's got this stupid hatch literally like a ½ inch, 3/4 of an inch away from it. So I couldn't mount it there. So I had to mount it farther back. And in doing that, this cable for his steering on the trolling motor, it wouldn't reach through there. Usually this would come out the back of there. It looks a whole lot cleaner, but that's the only way I could do it. And it's fine. It deploys around there. The way it's sitting right now, it's kind of tight up in this side. So when it deploys, it sits right over here. Not the way I would want to do it, but there wasn't really any other options with the way that he's got that hatch there. But everything's hooked up and it's working the way it should be. Turned out pretty good. I'm happy with it. All right, so this whole project, it took me a day, about 5 hours to do everything in here. Now I did spend about an hour the original day I got it, just looking it over, doing some research and filming some video for it. But actually once I got into it and started working and making all the pans and installing everything, it took me about 5 hours. So it wasn't as fast as I thought I was gonna do it, but it turned out good. And I had a lot of stuff that I wasn't used to, and I had to work around stuff that was put in here by somebody else. I hate coming behind somebody else. It just always ends up in a cluster of everything that you're doing because it wasn't originally done by you. But either way, guys, it turned out sick. All right, so Bass Brothers, you did a good job on the build, man. All the electrical, the paint, everything in here was very well thought out, the way it was laid out, and I'll give it to you. You did a good job with that. It's just the framing, man. I can't get down with the framing. Obviously, the Tiny Boat Nation trolling motor mount, that thing is crap. I mean, I'm not trying to hate. I don't care if it was made by Tiny Boat Nation or if it was made by TH Marine. I would not trust my trolling motor on that thing, not for 1 second. But the way I got that thing welded on there now, he's never gonna have to worry about this. He could upgrade to a 36-volt trolling motor if he wanted to, and he would have no issues with it whatsoever. In my opinion, the trolling motor mount is something that's pretty important on your boat because it takes a lot of abuse. Those trolling motors are strong nowadays, especially the 24-volt ones. And if you don't have that thing secured right, it's gonna rip out of there. I repair dozens of these things every year because people just wear them out. And the ones that I fix, I'm telling you, these guys don't come back with the same issue. They come back because they want something else. Anyways, guys, this is probably the only boat that you're ever gonna see me work on that was done by Tiny Boat Nation. It's not that I'm against it. I will network with anybody, but I'm not gonna use these products. I'm not gonna use that framing deck kit. I mean, I don't think anybody should. I just think it's way too thin. I know that a lot of you guys are gonna think that, oh, he's hating, he's talking trash. Well, you know, I keep it real. I don't care what company it is that has a part that's in the boat. I'm going to keep it real. I am completely non-biased. I do metal work. And if you want to put my metal work up against someone else's, that's perfectly fine. If someone wants to do a build off with me, a YouTube challenge, by all means, that door has been open since I started doing YouTube. And I wish that someone would step up to the plate because I'm all about that stuff. I like the challenges. I like the stuff that's outside the box. And I am not afraid to work my ass off. And I tell you this, if you can outwork me, well, then you are a better man than I am. I appreciate you guys watching. Hit that like, subscribe button, leave a comment. Go ahead, tell me what you think. I don't care. I'd love to hear from you. I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to talk some trash. I love it. Honestly, I like to talk trash. I work in a metal shop with a bunch of guys, so I'm pretty good at talking trash. You're not going to hurt my feelings, not at all. I'll see you guys next time. Let's get back to work.